Demonstrations near police stations must strictly comply with public order laws and state of emergency regulations. With more protests planned over the police-involved killing of Joshua Samaru and the injury of Kaya Seeley, police are reminding the public that breaches of the emergency powers regulations could result in fines of up to $100,000 and up to 5 years in prison. Protesters gathered outside the police administration building in Port of Spain on Sunday, opposing criminal charges expected to be laid against Seeley. Officers eventually dispersed the crowd. In a statement, Deputy Police Commissioner Suzette Martin said while protests are not banned during the SOE, organizers and participants must operate within the law. Former Police Commissioner and ex-National Security Minister Gary Griffith is calling on the Police Service Commission to break its silence on the police's failure to use body cameras. In fact, Griffith believes there's a deliberate move not to use the cameras on crime scenes. But he says the Police Commission, which oversees the management, discipline and appointments of police personnel to ensure accountability, efficiency and public trust in the police force, must intervene.
People are criticizing Guerrero and Roger Alexander. The people that we are not speaking about is the Police Service Commission. I could ask you right now, who is the chairman of the Police Service Commission? Who is in it? You probably wouldn't know. The majority of the country would not know. They have not said a word. And in this situation with the body cameras, I left 1,200 body cameras.
In other news, Finance Minister Devendranath Tanku says negotiations between the government and Public Services Association are continuing in good faith, even as the union rejected the state's latest proposal to settle outstanding public sector arrears. Responding to questions yesterday, he said it would be inappropriate to comment further on the ongoing discussions. The PSA rejected what Chief Personnel Officer Dr. Darrell Dindial described as the government's best and final offer for wage negotiations covering the periods 2014 to 2016 and 2017 to 2019. The state's proposal includes 40% cash and 60% non-cash benefits with an estimated settlement value of $3.8 billion. But the PSA is now proposing a revised package of 60% cash and 40% deferred cash, along with equity in state-owned publicly traded assets. However, Dr. Dindial maintains that the government's position outlined last week remains unchanged. Stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
All right, so good Tuesday morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a chance for us to yet again get into all the major talking points of the day. Jason Williams signing on. We say welcome one and all. Sit back, relax. It's going to be an action-packed program. We got the regular segments, the cancer, conversations on cancer. We're treating with World No Tobacco Day. That's coming up soon, so Dr. Basdio will shed some light. Karen Rose steps in also inside that second hour. But for this first hour, after I do the opening monologue and go through the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, opposition member of parliament and chief whip in the parliament, Marvin Gonzalez, steps in to treat with some of the discussions around WASA and the hirings within recent times, some of what would have transpired post-election last year, April 28th. So Marvin's going to step in, and I hope we could have a frank and honest conversation because, let's be real, what we're seeing there is nothing new under the sun, but I guess he will come in and give his particular perspective, and we treat on some of the issues within the political landscape. I want you to sit back, relax. Let's get the ball rolling on this Tuesday morning. It's your Morning Brew. See you soon. All right, running in with energy, passion, and purpose. Today, Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2026. So it is, well, 26:05:26. Interesting one indeed. Listen, it's going to be, as promised, action-packed to the point. We're going to drill down to some of the major talking points and issues. And as per usual, we go through the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian to start things off. Let me firstly, again, wish you and yours a tremendous day, and also send special greetings to the amazing team here with me on this Tuesday morning. But now we unpack the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And as we go through the front page, it says here, big and bold, trust the process. That's attorney Kristen Williams, attorney for Joshua Samaru's family, urges public to let the law take its course while expressing confidence in the office of the DPP. Yes? And, you know, I will obviously be guided here by the family's lawyer, because I myself, even though we would have had major talking points on this said issue yesterday, being responsible, understanding the perimeters and knowing that there are certain lines you can't cross, especially when you sit in a seat like this, talking to the mass public. As I mentioned yesterday and even last week, this is up for public contemplation. Lots of discussions happening in and around, but I cannot, without really seeing or understanding the full scope of evidence. Now, granted, from the outside looking in, it really is bizarre. It's rather strange. Many are scratching their head with this decision. But the lawyer, in his particular experience and understanding of how these things go and the legal framework, he says to trust the process. And I believe we would get some answers. I hope we will get the answers soon. And who's to be vindicated will be vindicated. And I'll leave it right there. But this is, yet again, one of those moments where you say, but how? Like, you know, help me, let it make sense. You understand? And I guess, as the lawyer says, Kristen Williams, who also is the lawyer for a couple of other high-profile personalities within the prison system. He's one I've seen many times on the news. So it seems like when it's a big case, you go check, you call on Kristen Williams. He's willing to take the case and go forward. Also, political analyst wins a CCJ case against Suriname government. That's political analyst Derek Ramsamouche, who's a regular guest with us. He will always come in to give perspective. Interestingly, Derek Ramsamouche made a prediction last year. He said 2 sitting MPs will be dismissed before the end of 2026. And if indeed it takes place, now he didn't hold no water in his mouth. He was he was a straight shooter in terms of who he suspect will not be able to make it towards the end of 2026. And if indeed it transpires, well, other than a political analyst, he's probably some kind of crystal ball will be somewhere in a back room, because clearly he didn't hold no water. He's one that when he steps in, he speaks very frank, very, very to the point. And I mean, that situation, I remember when he was in Suriname, and that was that whole back and forth. So I guess some justice there for him. And there's going to be some compensation to the full details on page 9. Finance Minister says 60 to 40 offer, 60-40 offer. That's what he's saying to PSA is final. So that development too, for those who are looking for that particular, anticipating that payout. The details there on page 6. And as we look towards the front page again, we're seeing a spiritual offering. Yes, members of the Hindu faith celebrate their 33rd Ganga Dhara at a river there in Blanchisseuse on Sunday. Everybody getting a chance to, you know, practice freely their particular faith, and that is the crux of what Trinidad and Tobago is all about. Yes, let's head to the back page, see what's happening via sport. And we're seeing some netball action here. Blocked, getting the player there in full stride. This is all part of the UE Games at UE Specs in Augustine. That's right. Lots of different students from the various, well, I guess, you know, this is campus business and sports day, big day. When we talk UE Games, it's a very serious occasion, huh? Very serious occasion. It's no joke thing when it comes to the UE games. It's the best of the best stepping out. And I'm seeing here Sri Lanka overhauls captaincy for the West Indies clash. That's right. For those who love their cricket, you can read all about it on page 38. Yes, we look forward to the Champions League final on Saturday. And there's another final happening in Europe tomorrow that Crystal Palace, they're a part of. So I wish all Crystal Palace fans and all those who support the EPL the very best going into that. It would be so amazing if the EPL would take a full sweep of Europe this year in terms of Aston Villa already doing the business. We have Crystal Palace in the finals and Arsenal also in the finals. The three major finals within the European football calendar. All three English teams are in the mix, and so far one team would have done the business, and that's Aston Villa. Let's head to the brief on this. Matter of fact, before the brief, keep the brief up. I just want to mention that even on the local football side, it's kind of going down to the wire because I believe it's police and I think it's Sport of Spain, one of the teams there. It's almost kind of like down to the wire, final game action, and they will determine the winner. So all the best to those who love the local football. Must put that in the mix. So I'm watching here, all smiles here from Ria and her husband. That's right, Carlin, showing off their medals after crossing the finish line at the St. Joseph's Convent San Fernando 5K Color Splash Run on Saturday. Also there with them, the Grand Couva Tabakit RC Parish Priest, Father Simon Peter. Beautiful picture there. Beautiful picture indeed. All smiles. Also, Minister warns of growing crisis as government launches regional skills initiative. Young males are not doing well. Well, go figure, Minister. That's why you're there to put plans and programs in place to inspire the generation to come, to give some hope. As mentioned, Marvin Gonzalez joins me to treat with the WASA situation. There's lots of discussion in the public domain concerning the WASA hirings. Is this something new? I don't think so. But let's hear from what's on the plate there with the opposition chief whip and member of parliament, Marvin Gonzalez, who joins us next.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
team, let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
New remedy for the healthy function of the nerves in the feet and legs.
I have been living with diabetes over 10 years, and the nerve pain was becoming unbearable. The numbness, the tingling, the burning became a daily challenge. A friend told me about New Remedy, and after 3 weeks of trying it, there was a marked difference.
Benfotiamine, a synthetic form of thiamine, has been scientifically shown to help relieve many of these symptoms, especially in early cognitive decline. I strongly recommend it as part of your supplement regime and for all patients with nerve problems.
I have confidence in New Remedy because it contains benfotiamine. This has been proven to help with numbness, tingling, and pain in the legs and feet.
As a pharmacist, I strongly recommend New Remedy to all my clients.
If you're experiencing nerve pain like I did, try New Remedy. It worked for me, it will work for you.
New Remedy is available at all major pharmacies nationwide.
As promised, Marvin Gonzalez joins me live on set, and again, very important discussion ahead and very timely. Of course, his portfolio would have been under the Ministry of Public Utilities when he was minister at the time. Of course, he's now Member of Parliament and Opposition Chief Whip. And because of this, I would say, public discussion, public contemplation, lots of arguments left, right, and center concerning influencers being hired at WASA. I want to ask you directly, and of course, firstly say welcome to you.
Always a pleasure. Good morning,
Welcome.
Jason. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this, because even when I would have had my little stint within the politics, I've recognized that WASA, for some reason, has always been a particular prize, the rainbow at the end of the tunnel. Most people, when they're campaigning, promises are made, and many of these promises are fulfilled via WASA. Well, it used to be CPEP. CPEP is no more. The corporation is also a place that people, party faithful, they're placed. And I think you would have been here on the program some months ago when you would have said that WASA then, I know there would have been a restructuring.
Yes.
It's always been a place that's been almost overpopulated, oversubscribed, as it were.
Independent reports, a lot of reports, not only from Trinidad and Tobago, but international reports from the IDB. They have done a lot of work inside of WASA that confirmed since before 2010 that WASA is overstaffed by to the tune of 2,800 to 3,000 workers.
So in that regard, I mean, this should not be a surprising development. What makes this scenario a bit different compared to what would have been done by all administrations over the past years?
But this is scandalous because you made reference to previous reports concerning overstaffing at WASA. As a matter of fact, when the UNC was in government between 2010 and 2015, they attempted a restructuring of WASA, and there's a UNC report signed by Mr. Ganga Singh, who was the CEO of WASA at the time, and he confirmed that in order for WASA to move forward, we needed to reduce WASA staff by 25 to 2,800 workers. And there's a documented report from him to the IDB indicating that the restructuring would entail reducing the staff by 2,800 workers. And as a result of that, they had gotten about $700 million to do a visa package, which they had started. And when I became minister, I blew the whistle on it, because whilst they started the visa program to separate workers and to reduce workers from the authority, 300 of these workers returned to the authority. So you got money, $700 million to undertake a VSEP, a separation package. It had the support of the union and the NUGFW, the PSA. You started the project to reduce staff by 2,800. You spent about, they spent about $500 or $600 million in the process. And while they did that, a number of these workers accepted visa package, and right before the 2015 elections, 200 of them returned to the authority. It's an example of what the politicization of WASA over the years has always been. And when I became minister in 2020, Dr. Rowley appointed a cabinet subcommittee to look into WASA. I was chair as the line minister. And in that report, when you read the summary of that report, it confirmed the politicization of WASA by all administrations in the past. And it recommended that for WASA to be transformed, WASA needs to be led by competent, by qualified persons, and we need to remove the politics out of WASA in order for WASA as an authority to survive. And this is exactly what we did. We put together a transformation plan. It was accepted again by the IDB, despite what took place in 2010 to 2015. They accepted it, and the IDB made some monies available to us, not only to improve the supply of water, but to improve WASA as an authority, to ensure that we have an authority that is equipped, that is skilled, that has all the necessary technology and what have you to improve the supply of water to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what Kamala Persad-Bissessar tore up after 2 weeks assuming office last year. A comprehensive transformation plan. Oh yeah, she ripped it apart.
Yes, in the post-cabinet.
Yes, at the post-cabinet conference, ripped it apart, and this is what we are getting now.
So my question is, I mean, obviously, you know, it's WASA's in the news. Lots of times people want just the basic service. These folks would have been instrumental, I would imagine, in getting UNC over the line last year, April 28th.
You're talking about the so-called influencers.
Right, and in keeping with I would imagine, political rhythm, and what's expected of a party that I guess supposedly cares, is that you place your people in a place so they could at least sustain themselves for the next 5 years. That's the reason why people, I would imagine, would jump out in such a forceful way to support a political movement or party. So the personalities on screen here, or any other person who would have been hired, isn't that not keeping with political promises, as he rightfully said, would have been done over the years? What makes this particular one and scenario so different?
Thank you very much. If any one of these people are qualified for the jobs that they are currently being paid to do inside of WASA, if they applied like every other citizen who is qualified to do the job, if they have been interviewed and there's a transparent process, and if they would have gone through that and got the jobs, I have absolutely no problem with that. What makes this very scandalous is the fact that none of them are qualified for the jobs that they are being paid to do. None of them went through an interview process. None of them went through a transparent process. As a matter of fact, what is happening, it is political payback. And what do? Are they fixing pipes? Are they fixing pumps? Are they fixing potholes in the road? Are they fixing leaks? They're not doing that. They are being paid to malign anyone who dare criticizes the UNC government on a daily basis. They were placed in position inside of the authority, receiving thousands of dollars every single month, not to ensure that people get a reliable supply of water, but to malign, denigrate, and stink up the name of anyone who dare criticizes the UNC government and all of their transgressions. And it is not only in WASA, because Kamala Persad-Bissessar did it when she put her cabinet together. You have 2 junior ministers placed in the Ministry of Housing, receiving salaries at taxpayers' expense every single month, not to ensure that people get houses, but to do exactly what these so-called influencers are doing inside of WASA. Stink up, denigrate, malign the name of anyone who dare criticizes the UNC government. This makes this more different than anything that would have transpired in the past.
Let me ask, as we treat, as you mentioned, the politics of the day, I want to transition to that. And if you could explain to me the dynamics of a walkout. I recognize it happened again last week. Who determines the walkout, and what happens if, obviously if someone wants to, obviously if somebody wants to contribute and the walkout, that can happen. But what is the catalyst really to the walkout scenario, and who determines the walkout? Is it the opposition leader who will she will rally? I've never seen or witnessed a walkout. So what happens in that regard?
A walkout is not necessarily planned.
Is this a spontaneous kind of?
It is very spontaneous. You can't plan a walkout because you don't know, you don't expect a government to do what they're doing at a point in time. So last week Friday, the government, I indicated to the government that I have 2 to 3 speakers to speak on the Victims' Rights Bill. The government told me that they have about 2 speakers on the bill.
And I saw Member of Parliament Marcel was on his feet.
Well,
and he was bypassed.
He was ignored. Not just bypassed, he was ignored because the deputy speaker, the presiding officer at the time, said that according to the standing orders, it is who she recognizes will have the say. So she said she did not see MP Marcel first. It is the MP or the Minister of Justice who caught her eyes first. Now, mind you, Jason, it is the Minister of Justice who piloted the bill. He introduced the bill in the lower house. He spoke on the bill. MP Scotland responded to him. The fact that the Deputy Speaker recognized the Minister of Justice as the second speaker or the third speaker, it meant that she was effectively bringing an end to the debate. Because once a minister introduces a bill and that minister is given another opportunity to speak, there's no other debate to continue.
That's the protocol.
That's the protocol. So what the Deputy Speaker should have done, if she recognizes that the minister stood up, she should have looked across to the opposition to see if there are any other speakers. She did not. Because at the point in time when I looked down, I saw MP Marcel was on his legs before the Minister of Justice. And what the Deputy Speaker effectively did was to shut down all of our speakers and all of the speakers that we were planning to put in this debate and call upon the Minister of Justice basically to bring an end to a debate. And this is something that has been going on in this Parliament, where we have been muzzled, where we have not been given the opportunity to speak and represent our constituents. And what happened last week Friday was a further attack against the opposition to silence and to suppress our voices. And we decided there and then as a collective that we are not going to stay in this Parliament to continue to be disrespected by the government on this particular matter, and we walked out.
Member of Parliament Gonzalez, it seems that this would have been probably, if not the third, or could have been more, memory serves me well, walkout within recent time.
Yes.
Is this part of some kind of strategy? As you said, you can't really predict these things, it's spontaneous, but is that going to be the new normal if things don't go your way, you and the other MPs just going to walk out?
Walkout has its effect.
What was the effect of a walkout? And what happens? Do you literally walk out, go to your car and go home? What happens with a walkout?
Well, that's what we did on the last occasion.
So you just walk out?
We walked out, we went to our opposition caucus room, we spoke as a team, and we left the Parliament. Let the government stay there and speak to themselves. All right? Now, this is about the second or third time we walked out of the Parliament based on similar kind of conduct. It is time. I don't believe that we should continue to walk out. I think it is time we take it to a different level. What a different level is, maybe we'll report to the national population on what that other level is. But in addition to that, it is time that we in the opposition bring to the attention of the international community and the regional communities and international parliamentary bodies what has been taking place in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, where a government is using its presiding officers and its majority to suppress the legitimate voices of the opposition, and we will not have any to do with that.
MP Gonzalez, I'm looking at the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, and the attorney for Joshua Samaro's family, Attorney Christian Williams, says, trust the process. Could we trust the process?
I am surprised that a defense attorney is jumping to the defense of the prosecution in this matter. It is time that we look deeper into this. I have never seen where a defense attorney all of a sudden is excited to defend the police and the Director of Public Prosecution. I find it to be quite curious. And to tell the country to trust the process when the country saw what they saw a couple months ago in this video, and where we have been told by key office holders to don't believe what you witnessed, what you saw on CCTV footage. We have other things that you don't know, but you are not qualified to know now, and we are not prepared to tell you, but just believe what we are telling you. This is ridiculous. It is reprehensible, and it is an insult to the intelligence of decent citizens of this country. And what this defense attorney should be doing as an officer of the court should be encouraging the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, encouraging the Commissioner of Police, and even encouraging the Director of Public Prosecution, all of whom are in public office, and they are accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to put and to level and to put sufficient information out in the national community so that the people of this country can believe that there is something inside of there that would warrant their trust and their confidence.
But could that be done without prejudice?
It can be done.
Without prejudice?
It can be done, because who in Trinidad and Tobago doesn't know about this matter? Who in Trinidad and Tobago is not scandalized by this particular matter? Where are you going to get jurors with an open mind, with a clear mind, to go into a trial not having an opinion on this particular matter?
A preconceived notion.
Exactly. And that is exactly what happens when you do not take the public into your confidence. The people of this country are scandalized, and rightly so. They believe that there is some kind of concoction would have taken place, some kind of manipulation of evidence that would have resulted in what transpired last week. And therefore, all you are telling the people of this country, trust the process. Come on.
Prior to the politics, you were also a member of the TTPS. You would have served in that regard. From then to now, also walking the ground, talking to your constituents, talking to the common man.
Yes.
Where is that level of confidence in the TTPS and more so the commissioner at this point in time?
It is the lowest I've ever seen. It is the lowest. I'm speaking to my constituents everywhere. You go to the supermarket, you go to the market, you go everywhere. And I have never seen over the last 25 or 30 years that confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has been reduced to this level.
Does that hurt? Because you were also a member of the TTPS before you got into the politics.
And the issue of confidence in the police service has always been an issue. The point is that I have never seen it that bad. And then you have a commissioner of police and senior police officials, with the greatest of respect to many of them, the way in which they are communicating, it is not instilling confidence. It is not encouraging citizens to want to have confidence in institutions that have been put in place to guard and to protect and to defend our constitutional rights. It has been the worst I've ever seen. And right now, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service needs all of the professional help that it can get to ensure that some semblance of confidence is restored where the national population is concerned.
I mean, we're on the outside looking in. We hear the banter, we see the theater in Parliament, but is the Minister of Homeland Security taken seriously when he gets to his feet? Well, I know the opposition will naturally give him, they will challenge him and give him his political blows. But even on his side of the divide, his team members, is he a man taken seriously when he gets on his feet to speak?
Who on earth can take Roger Alexander seriously? I mean, if you want to take him seriously, the first sentence that comes out of his mouth, you can't take that man seriously. And Kamala Prasad Bisesa, to put someone like Roger Alexander to be in charge of our homeland security, it tells you the mindset of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Who can take Roger Alexander seriously? I asked this man in Parliament, how many persons have been arrested and charged for conspiracy to murder law enforcement officials arising out of the declaration of a state of emergency? And the man invoked standing orders not to answer that question in the public interest. I asked him questions about how many persons have been placed on charges arising out of the state of emergency. The man invoked standing orders of Parliament not to report to you, the citizens of, not to report to me, you know. I, as a member of Parliament, as an opposition, I'm discharging my parliamentary responsibilities to get the government to account. This man constantly invokes standing orders not to answer questions and saying that we can't tell you, members of the public, because it is not in your interest as members of the public not to know. Can you take him seriously? Every time he talks, he continues to erode whatever level of confidence or semblance of confidence that the people of this country have in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. If you want to restore confidence, there are some serious changes you need to make to the top there. And the first one must go is Roger Alexander.
As it pertains to crime policing, the big discussion at this point in time is the body cameras. What's the discourse like? Obviously, the cameras are there. Former Commissioner Gary Griffith up to yesterday said that he would have purchased cameras. The current, well, not only the current commissioner, but commissioners before, it's just there. They're not being used at this point in time. What's the latest via Parliament and the discussions within the House as it pertains to body cameras, which to me is an integral part of policing in this 21st century? Your handcuff, your pen, your gun, your utility belt. But I believe we need to have security cameras, well, the body cameras, so that there can be accountability and transparency in situations like this.
Correct.
We could truly trust the process now, because cameras are there.
You have independent scientific evidence.
What's the latest in that regard?
I filed a matter on the adjournment of the House a couple of weeks ago, asking the minister to state whether the government is committed to ensuring that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is provided with body cams so that police officers can utilize it during their operations. The minister, again, the same minister that I'm talking about, took 10 minutes and he talked about Gary Griffith and the procurement process and the acquisition of body cameras in the past, and that he's going to launch an investigation and what have you. The man never responded to the motion that I brought in Parliament. I give him an opportunity to at least give a commitment that the government is going to provide the resources to acquire body cams for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And he took the opportunity and went into a whole tirade about attacking Gary Griffith for the acquisition of body cams, and he never gave a commitment. Never gave a commitment. And the latest I've heard from the Trinidad and Tobago Police, the commissioner himself, is that, well, we are committed to, but we don't have the resources to purchase it. And then you are telling me that this defense attorney is now telling the people of this country to trust the process? These fellas can't be serious. And they continue to insult the intelligence of the people of this country.
Member of Parliament and Chief Whip Marvin Gonzalez touching base with us on this Tuesday morning. Let's keep in touch and see how things pan out in the days, weeks, months ahead.
Let's continue to keep the public and the population informed. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Indeed. We take that pause and we come back and we touch base with clinical psychologist Victoria Sunarayan Jilal Singh. We're dealing with crime fatigue and trauma. So we're going to stay in that particular vein, and we're going to get some recommendations from our clinical psychologist. She's next.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chanka Trace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
What if we each took one small action today that could have big impact tomorrow? What if one family took a stand to reduce waste in our landfills? What if one school made a choice that can lead to a greener Trinidad and Tobago? When you recycle glass, you create jobs, reduce waste, save resources, and help preserve our environment. Glass bottles and jars are 100% recyclable and can be reused indefinitely. Recycle your glass and join the Glass Loop movement today.
Living with diabetic neuropathy is exhausting. The burning pain and tingling that won't go away? Introducing Myolaxin D Gel, made for pain relief. Fast absorbing, non-greasy, and easy to apply. Its Carbomer gel formula delivers relief deep at the nerve level. Oleoresin capsicum helps reduce pain signals, while diclofenac eases inflammation. Menthol and camphor provide fast, soothing comfort, so the pain eases and comfort returns. Size doesn't matter. This 15-gram tube gives you maximum relief. Myolaxin D Gel, available at pharmacies nationwide.
Really looking forward to getting out of here. Getting a proper meal and a hot date with that gal from Tim Hortons. Duncan?
Hey, I need some help in here! Is he gonna be okay? Just help him. You can't just let him die! die like this!
Experience the romance, secrets, and drama in Sullivan's Crossing. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
Welcome back. Let's get into a very important discussion. Clinical psychologist Victoria Sunarayan Jilal Singh joins me. And it's always a joy to have Victoria on. Obviously, the circumstance this morning, it's most unfortunate because, you know, when we talk Victoria, we want to, we know we would have had discussions in the past about exam anxiety. You would have had advice to all the SEA students and just ways to treat with some of the regular trauma we go through and the rites of passage, as it were. But what we're dealing with crime and criminality, it's not normal, Victoria. It's been going on since you've been in school, since I've been in school, since you was in skirt, I was in khaki pants, tall socks. And for some reason, it's almost like we are numb, we are exhausted, and unless it lands on your step, that is when, I guess, folks recognize how dark and how dread the place could be. Yes, there's lots of love, there's lots of goodness, lots of movement within the community where people help each other. That's the daily running order of Trinidad and Tobago. But there's a dark side that we're seeing on screen that exists. It's very severe, it's very brazen. No care, concern for life, limb. Even the children now, Victoria, the babies are being impacted, and we don't need to go back into some of what happened in the last couple of weeks. How do we come out of this particular rut? Where do we start? How do we catch ourselves and care again? And good morning to you, Victoria. Great to see you as always.
Good morning to you and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for having me again on the show. And you are right. This is a very important topic. And, you know, you ask, how do we heal? And the first thing we can do to heal is we have to acknowledge what's happening. And a lot of people are seeing it now. We are seeing the results of it. We are seeing the symptoms, but we still have not acknowledged what is the cause. And I think the climate of Trinidad and Tobago have the song that plays in my mind ever so often. Like whenever I see these news stories, you're familiar, many of us are familiar with Michael Jackson, Heal the World. And it just plays in my mind because I'm like, how do we heal our nation? How do we heal our nation? We have to. And the first step is to acknowledge and to start having conversations about it, just like this, just like what this program is doing this morning.
Let me ask you from a leadership perspective, and this is not to get political because we're not dealing with the politics of it. That's for the politicians, right? But I can't help but observe when there is any disruption, let's say in Barbados, our neighbors to the north. You see Mia Motley coming and giving an address to the nation. You see other jurisdictions in the Caribbean where there's any kind of upheaval, any major happening. If a child is struck by a stray bullet, if there's any major just upheaval, you see leaders coming forward, people from the church coming forward and you know, addressing the nation. I haven't seen that in this administration, the last administration. As a matter of fact, I can't recall the last time I've seen any leader, and I'm not just putting this on the current administration. We're talking here, let's go back 20 years. I cannot recall anyone just saying, listen, TNT, let's take a pause, let's take a moment, how do we get leadership, or should leadership play a more active role in coming out and addressing this and recognizing what you would have mentioned, that we have to face it head on?
Right. I believe that people do the best they can with what they have. And I'm not trying to make an excuse, nor am I trying to applaud any of the work that's being done. I can't speak in my position and with the experience that I have as to what the motivations of the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago are for why they may or may not. But what I can say is there has to be a point where the dialogue that we're having reaches not only the leadership, but reaches the entire citizenry. Because whether we admit it or not, and you mentioned something just now, you said it's not until it comes onto your doorstep. But I would like to challenge that, and I would like to say that oftentimes when these criminal activities take place, when these very traumatizing stories occur, it damages the nation. We are all traumatized, and that's something called cultural trauma, where not only the persons who are directly involved are traumatized, but we as a nation, we are traumatized. And I will go so far to say, you know, as a parent, there are a lot of restrictions my children now have, not because of anything they have done, but just generally because of the state of the nation. And so there is that collective trauma that creates that hypervigilance. And you also mentioned another word, you said numb. And it creates an emotional desensitization to these things that persons who experience it, they don't know how to process these emotions, how to express them. So they have an overwhelming amount of emotions that make them numb. Whereas on the other side, the rest of the country, the rest of the nation, only being able to witness it via social media and other news reports of it, they also get desensitized. And there are many people, and you wouldn't believe it, but I see it a lot in practice. There are a lot of people who say, yeah, it had a killing in the community next to me. And they say it like if you say today is Tuesday, you know, it's, yeah.
And I wanted to go there because people speak about it some people even speak about it almost like a badge of honor. They say that, yeah, my area, the kind of language people use, yeah, he get bait down, not shot. Yeah, they bait up, he get corn, they wet him up. A matter of fact, there are those who share sometimes the most horrific videos in terms of the blood and what would have transpired. What does that do to the psyche, the sharing of that kind of material and speaking about it in such a very nonchalant manner?
So if we go to how human beings are, we don't like ambiguity. Human beings, and you can imagine yourself in a situation where you don't know, your brain automatically tries to fill in the gaps. That's one of the ways we try to seek control or have autonomy in our environment. We try to figure out what it is, fill the gap, so that we can make a plan to deal with the gap, right? And it's just how we would live. Now, having this level of criminality, having this level of exposure in our nation that we have been experiencing for many, many years, it has created almost a learned helplessness. Now, I would have mentioned hypervigilance before. So people are hypervigilant. They are locking their doors. They are putting in alarm systems, barbed wire, electric fence, getting dogs, all of these things. And some of those persons, despite their best efforts, they are still falling victim to crime. And so what that creates now is the sense of, well, no matter what I do, I'm still going to get involved. I'm still going to get caught. And then some people, they accept the fatality of it. They say, well, if it's my time, and I'll go. Now, the effort to gain control or to seek control in situations where we feel helpless is one of the things that could create what you just spoke about. We try to take charge over it, or we try to say, I accept it, I'm fine with it. And then we create those narratives that almost seek to disarm the harm of these actions. But what we don't realize is that that is ourselves. So we are putting ourselves in that state of not being able to fully acknowledge, accept, and process the situation that we're in. And unless we can do that, then you can't change it. And that's why we started by saying that the first thing we absolutely need to do is acknowledge what's happening. Yeah. And we need to hold it, because we can't change it unless we really know what we're dealing with.
I know within the legal context and framework, they always say justice delayed is justice denied, and there are many people who, the justice system and the system itself, the way the wheels turn, it leaves much to be desired. So you see, and you recognize now when people are in a confrontation, or if words clash and words turn to, even when people clash via words, people agitated and you find two people going at it, it goes now to a place of immediate, well, I will kill you, I will shoot you. You see people using that kind of language very, like almost you want to dismiss someone's existence because of a disagreement, because of a bad drive. Is that kind of attitude all part of the dark cloud that now exists, all part of the psyche, the psychological damage that we feel we could speak in these terms, and then there are folks who might speak it and not do anything, most folks, but then there are those who might say it and really follow through. Or even if that threat comes to you or me, Victoria, you might tell yourself, well, nah, boy, we're in a different time in here. Let me counter punch. Let me deal with that threat before the threat comes my way. So walk me through that mindset and that reality that exists in Trinidad when there's confrontation. People immediately go to dismissing or removing this person from the planet.
So what you're talking about there is evidence of collective trauma and normalization, where you hear it. It's not uncommon anymore to hear persons making threats to kill. Whereas before, if someone says that, it's taken seriously and there's fear that goes along with it. But now when it's said, it's irregular. You don't know if it's in jest, you don't know if it's serious. But it does speak to that collective trauma, that normalization. And normalization is something that is very dangerous because whatever a person sees as their norm is the thing that is their default. And we can go all the way back to childhood. Think about the child who is witness to domestic violence in the home. That has become their norm. So then when they end up in a relationship where someone is doing that to them, they don't see it as wrong. They don't understand that it's something that's not going to happen. So they accept the behavior, but they may also reproduce the behavior. And then you have a generation now where that will happen, that will continue. And that's just one example. We see it in many other areas. But the good news, JW, is that it also exists in good things. If you see your parents apologizing to you when they have done something that wasn't the most helpful, then those children learn to accept responsibility for their actions and to in turn apologize, which is another generation. And so part of healing Trinidad and Tobago, and I've said this and I will continue to say this, is for the adults to recognize that what is happening with our children now are in part our responsibility. A lot of people would argue with me and they would say, well, I didn't do anything. But maybe sometimes that's the problem. It's not necessarily what you do alone to create the distress, but maybe if you are privy to situations where other children are in distress and you do nothing when you could have done something, maybe that also is contributing to the problem.
Well, Victoria,
so we as yes?
No, go ahead, because I just wanted to kind of go a little deeper on the layer.
Just to say that we as adults need to take responsibility for our actions. We need to be very intentional about the things that we do, about the things that we don't do, and about the things that we choose to let slide and not correct.
So as we go a little deeper on that layer, because I'm glad you touched on that, we all could recall what happened to the alderman a couple of weeks ago in Port of Spain. He tried to intervene, some students were fighting, and immediately, without even any kind of delay, the young girl turn around, swing on the man, he fall down, and the sampat, the poor older man. They dealt with him very severe, a softening in the daylight. When adults see that kind of interaction with the youngsters, and let's say, God forbid, there is any kind of confrontation, any kind of conflict in the road, I think 9 out of 10 adults now, seeing what transpired, they might want to hold back. What's your advice for us? The adults, the uncles, the aunties, the mamas and papas, who might you want to kind of go in and help the youth, but you're not too sure because, again, we're dealing with a different time, a different reality, and a different kind of trauma. Because the youngsters, they're dealing with it and also. They're seeing it and they're living here. And clearly we're seeing the results of it.
So I would say that what we are dealing with is sort of, it's fresh ground. Even though we say, we've been experiencing crime for a long time, generation of persons who exist now, they're very different. They're very different personalities. They're very different perceptions. And almost as a psychologist who treat both children and adults, I almost have to retrain to treat children and adolescents now, right? Because the training I would have done years ago, it doesn't work with them. They speak a different language. And I'm saying all of that to say that it's a very new environment that we're dealing with. And very new environments means that we all need to be trained differently. So while TTPS and community police, they exist, right? Maybe they need to be trained differently as to how to deal with this generation. The adults who treat with them, maybe we maybe they need to be trained differently. The teachers, the coaches, the parents, particularly the parents, we all need to be trained differently. And I think this is where it's important that we start talking about, what workshops or what seminars are being done, what podcasts are being done, what webinars are being done. I think this is the focus. I think this is a really big part of the how. How do we solve this? Even the children, they don't understand themselves. And JW, I don't think we really are able to capture what is happening when we see things like that, when we see children having an outburst like that, or in any other situation. That is a dysregulated nervous system. Those are children who are unable to regulate their emotions. Do you know where children learn to regulate their emotions? From the adults around them. And so if the adults around them are dysregulated, then the children are dysregulated. And so the responsibility really does fall on the parents. And again, I will repeat what I said before. I really do believe people do the best they can with the resources they have, which is why we now need to make resources available so that we can increase those number of resources so that the best they can become better.
Victoria, as always, a sincere thanks for the time, for the counsel this morning. And let's stay in touch and keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Thank you.
Same to you. That's Victoria there, a clinical psychologist touching base as we get ready for the 7 a.m. news update. Your calls and much more after 7.
Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in Trinidad and Tobago, driven by 2 silent threats, diabetes and high cholesterol. But now there's a powerful ally, introducing Berberine Plus by Asia Nutrition, clinically proven to stabilize blood sugar and keep cholesterol levels in check. With 99.9% pure extract, you get superior absorption and real results. Available now at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Berberine Plus, your heart deserves better.
Discover your favorite treat with Casey Candy Gummies. Sweet or sour, dive into a wave of fun shapes and flavors. Our halal gummies are made with fruit juices, and every bite is packed with fun, chewiness, and pure deliciousness. Perfect for an everyday snack, birthday parties, or lunch boxes. Make your snack time irresistible. And enjoy your day with Casey Gummies.
Every day at the castle, long before we open our doors, our work begins. Our famous seasonings are mixed in advance. We select our fresh chicken parts and prep our delicious sides. Then we fire up the fryers and rotisserie oven. Everything is made with tasty local herbs, spices, and the same long-loved recipe since 1968. So, when you come in, remember that we uphold our culture and our taste just for you. We are your Royal Castle.
How can you do this? You know we're already struggling and now you want to add to our problems too?
Of course you're back here.
Ma'am, please, I hope
you listen to me. I know that for someone like you, it must be a whole lot of fun to go out and get drunk. I'll ask you this one time, that if you can't respect your daughters or care enough to avoid doing things to get yourself arrested, then at least have the basic decency not to get Alejandra involved in your reckless behavior.
Don't miss the gripping drama Cabo. Sundays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
The fact that they ask the questions, those challenging questions that no other media house would ask. So, shed light on those things that are in the dark, those stories that no one else wants to cover.
I grew up reading The Guardian, actually. It's a household name.
About The Guardian, one thing that I like, the human interest stories have increased.
See the investigative pieces on the human trafficking. I find that very interesting.
You go more in depth.
On sports, especially local sports, and that's one of my highlights for The Guardian.
Yeah, I've been in Ghana and The Guardian started coming out, started working. I was a newspaper man.
Could the stories that are being covered are well detailed and you get more facts?
At this point in time, I really like the Spanish section. I'm glad I like it. Like to know everything, what is going on with us.
Also, I think the editorials, I think they're doing a good job on the speaking the truth and, they're challenging the government to to make things better.
Me in particular, of recently, the last 2-3 months, I've been reading The Guardian. I'm seeing a lot of news about the neighborhoods and the communities. And I even saw my community featured, and I was proud.
Oh, The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Guardian. Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian. The Guardian. Trinidad Guardian. The Guardian is my first choice.
Time check. Brought to you by the Central Bank and the National Financial Literacy Program.
Good morning, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. Trust the process. That was the message from the attorney representing the family of Joshua Samaru as public anger continues to mount over the police handling of the case. In an interview with CNC3 News, attorney Kristen C.J. Williams said Samaru's family is prepared to allow the justice system to take its course following the Director of Public Prosecution's decision to charge Samaru's girlfriend Kaya Seeley with manslaughter and shooting with intent. The decision has triggered widespread public criticism and renewed scrutiny of the investigation. But despite the backlash, Williams said the family remains confident that Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard acted based on the evidence before him. He urged members of the public to allow the legal process to unfold, insisting that the matter should ultimately be determined in court rather than in the court of public opinion.
The DPP is a wise guy. There must be a reason why the charge was brought, and it would be foolish actually and totally unwise for anyone to continue speculating until we see the DPP and have trust in his process.
In other news, even after being released from police custody, Khalifa Tobias has not returned to her Goodwood Village home. The 22-year-old mother of Angelo Tobias Plaza spent approximately 11 days in custody following the toddler's disappearance. Calls for justice echoed along Harris Promenade, San Fernando on Sunday evening as citizens gathered for a candlelight vigil seeking closure for the 2-year-old child. Organizer Kevin Lalchan stressed that the event was not a protest, but a spiritual appeal for divine intervention as the child's body remains missing. He called for hangings to resume, saying the country has seen too much bloodshed. And questions are mounting over controversial hiring practices at the Water and Sewerage Authority, with Opposition Chief Whip Marvin Gonzalez warning Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath that the issue would be taken to Parliament when sittings resume. The warning follows a Guardian media investigation, which revealed that WASA hired 9 social media influencers among 416 appointments reportedly made after the April 28th general election. Sources alleged the influencers were employed under standard WASA job titles while simultaneously defending the government online. Speaking to another media house, Minister Padarath insisted the workers were hired legitimately through the authority's normal recruitment process. But Gonzalez dismissed that explanation, claiming the number of appointments may now be closer to 600 employees. He warned the hiring spree could cost taxpayers more than $100 million annually. Gonzalez said when Parliament reconvenes on June 5th, he intends to press the government for details on the workers' qualifications, the recruitment process used, and whether the positions were publicly advertised. Stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
Tuesday, 26th May 2026. Good morning again. It's our second hour. We are now moving to about 3 minutes. Very soon it's going to be 4 minutes after 7 o'clock. The lines are officially open. 624-8721 and 627-8658. Shagonas, good morning.
God bless and good morning, Jason.
Good morning to you. I'm listening.
Jason, first of all, let me correct your vice about caller yesterday, right? He said that all the DPP, he made a statement to the effect that the DPP, right, there's big decisions if the charge or not. But let me tell you this, that is correct. But the point about it is that what I'm correcting you on is that it's go based on the information that the police present before the DPP. Then the DPP does make a decision in connection with that. So therefore, it does fall on the police, right? It does fall on the police as to what they present to the DPP. Understand what I'm saying? Listen to this theory very good, Jason, what I'm going to say here. They said that how the silly girl, right, she would have shot Samaru. Is there a possibility that gunshot residue would have been on her hand if it is that the police, after the fact, would have put the gun in her hand and shot Samaru at the back of his head? Just
well, I mean, we're going into speculation now, so we have to be very careful with our sugar.
Very much, Jason, is very much a possibility of these things because listen to me, this man was clearly seen putting his hands up in the air. Listen to me good, hands up in the air outside the vehicle, right? And they just came rattling shots. Let me tell you something. Something has to be done about this, Jason. The whole nation has to come out against this. Understand what I'm saying? Because it could be you, me, or anybody else tomorrow, right? The police cannot be alone to themselves. And the biggest, let me tell you something, Jason, and I make no apologies for saying this, the biggest gangsters and the biggest bandits in this country, the biggest criminal in this country is the police, right? Because let me tell you something, they just be protecting all these bars with all these roulette machines that not even registered, especially a lot of these Chinese. Understand what I'm saying? All they care about is the $500 they gain at the end of the day, right? They don't care about anything else. Understand what I'm saying? So let me tell you something. To protect and serve really is to protect themselves and serve the public with blows. Have a good day, Jason.
Shogunas not biting at all these days, not biting nice. What he presented there was, I mean, speculation, obviously, in terms of the way he would have, because I wasn't there, nobody was there. And I guess we have to, I really hope they come to some kind of conclusion with this very soon, They can't prolong this because it was going to validate what Sim Shoguna said yesterday, that they're going to use this as some kind of big scheme and theater, and then you're going to hear dismiss and nothing come out of it now. So thanks again, Shogunas. Let's head now to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz are standing by.
Morning, Jason, and morning to the people of Santa Cruz, and a blessed day for the Santa Cruz because the weather is very nice, Jason. And one of the things in Santa Cruz right now, you don't need air conditioning because the valley is so cool and nice that when you wake up in the morning, you're feeling real fresh and good. You're ready to go. You must try and see if you get a place in Santa Cruz, Jason. You look a little more fresh than how you're looking. You understand me?
I think it's Santa Cruz, the morning breeze in Santa Cruz, all right?
Yeah, that breeze is blessed breeze.
Yeah.
Jason, what I want to talk about is not the Samaru issue, but I think I need to, when they have a saying in management, if catching someone doing something good. I think I want to compliment the Minister of Social Welfare in terms of the adjustment for the public assistance program, because I keep saying, and if you could remember, I have called before and spoke about the means test and the disadvantage of the means test in terms of household income that affect people that really need the assistance. And I'm happy to see that the minister recognizes the challenge and also recognizes that more people getting poorer, especially under the UNC. What needs to happen now, because I compliment the minister on that, what the minister also needs to do is to go a little further. And actually, the whole question of wanting people to come for proof of life, and you see the challenge with that in terms of people 95 years, 80-something years, have to be pushed in a wheelchair to social welfare to have proof of life. I believe that too needs to change, and because Legal Affairs together with the NIS had adjusted that people no longer need to go. So I believe the minister needs to go a little further, and the proof of life need to be adjusted just like how they have the NIS. And I am saying I want to compliment the minister again for actually recognizing that there is an issue with the whole question of public assistance and the means test, and the adjustment has been made. I want to compliment them on that. Because one of the things I will always be fair when someone do something that is good. What I'm saying now, Madam Minister, because I know you're listening to the program, look at the whole question of the proof of life, where people 80 and 90 years come now wheelchair to prove their life, make the adjustment that just like how they do with the NIs. Thank you, Jason, this morning, and God bless you, and God bless Trinidad and Tobago and the people of Santa Cruz.
You're welcome, Santa Cruz. Yes, very fair analysis, very critical. He will give the government their jobs, but when they do well, he will give them the compliments. That's fair. Well done there, Santa Cruz. Let's head now to Dabadi, East Side. Good morning.
Compliments. That's fair. Well
Dabadi, morning.
Dabadi, morning. Here.
Welcome.
Jason, good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to recognize the lady from Santa Cruz.
No, that's a gentleman. That's a gentleman. Yeah, that's a gentleman from Santa Cruz. I don't know why people think.
I find she's very unfair sometimes.
No. Again, it's a gentleman. You know, that's a man. Dabadi. That's a man. It's not a woman. It's a man. Hard back.
Yeah, it's a man.
Yeah, it's a man.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
What I'm referring to, and the minister can't do it on her own. It has to be the government approving that.
Well, I mean, I think you're trying to listen via the TV, so you're getting this delay. So just go with the point, man. I'm all ears. I'm listening. Go ahead.
I think you're trying to listen via the TV, so you're getting this delay. So just go with the point, man. Okay, sir. I find she has speed dial. She should allow more people to get through to the show.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Dabadi. And again, let me just, probably as you're listening, Santa Cruz is a man. A man with a hard back that wakes up with a nice, cool Santa Cruz breeze. It's not a woman. That's Mr. Santa Cruz, Dabadi. It's not a woman. Not trying to transition to be a woman. It's a man. That's Santa Cruz. Good morning. Who's out there?
Morning. Caller from Central. To the caller from Shogunas from before. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that to the entire whoever's listening or looking at your program, you have a great program, by the way.
Thank you.
Just to mention that.
Thank you.
But the caller, they attack the police service as though they don't also rely on the services that provided. You can't have that broad opinion like that to destroy because what he's doing, he's destroying, helping to destroy the image and the trust of the police. So he's coming out there and he's just attacking people very aggressive. The next time when you have an incident, let him call in about Piper and see if they would assist him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid. You see, I normally for the open forum, and well, thanks for the perspective. Me and Shogunas, we would have crossed swords so many times over the last couple of years, and I didn't really have the energy this morning. I mean, there are folks who, honestly, Cole, I think based on some people's personal experience, Faisal, just give me a second, let me just explain this. I think some people go through, unfortunately, bad encounters with authority, and I guess if you're honest within yourself too, many times you cause it and you bring it upon yourself, because you greet with these officers with a certain attitude, and you can never win in that kind of scenario. A lot of times we need to humble ourselves. Yes, there are officers who are corrupt, but they are corrupt personalities in every vocation. Every vocation. Whether a man selling snow cone, whether they're selling insurance, it could be whatever. There are people will be people. But I guess some people just have this broad brush. But we need to obviously understand that there are many good women and men within the service. And as you rightfully said, if you're in a jam, it's them you're going to call, and you're going to be happy when you see the khaki or the gray and blue show up to render assistance. Let's head to Faisal. Good morning, Faisal.
Good morning, Brother Jason. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome.
Jason, Mr. Shogunas, I don't know if he misinterpreted what I said yesterday or misunderstood. But I'll leave that as it is. But to broad brush the police, and it's the same police service we are trying to reform, he didn't do any justice to them this morning. Rather than appealing to them to do the correct thing, we continue to demonize them. And I think if we need to travel a smooth and narrow road, we need to support them. People need to be lifted you know, and of course they are rogue officers. And, you know, to suggest that most of them would, as he would have been doing this morning, is unfair. It's very unfair. Because when a human in crisis, there's two things they're calling is God and the police. You bounce your toes, oh God. Somebody in your yard, you call the police. So we need to, if we want the police service to get better, we need to assist them.
But in all fairness, Faizo, in all fairness, and I mean, obviously, I'm not going to endorse what you're going to say, but he touched on certain realities that exist in our community. Yes, there are certain businesses they are allowed to run under the watchful eye, allowed to prosper, and police know what's going on. Every officer knows where the blocks are in every jurisdiction. Everybody know, you know where the block is, I'm sure, in Faizabad, Faizo, and I'm sure police know where the block is. How the block man still operating. So these are the things I guess Shogun's looking at, and he just fed up, and I guess he's going to paint a broad brush.
No. I am not disputing what you are saying, you know, Jason, but I am saying there are avenues to deal with it.
Yeah.
There are avenues, they don't come publicly and make that kind of statement. Because if I ask him to produce the evidence where he would have seen a Chinese man handed a policeman $500, would he be able to provide that information to me? No. There is a suspicion. Another thing I want to touch on, I look at the protest with the Samaru incident where you had the crowd there.
Yeah. Which one? The one in Tong or the one in San Fernando?
The one in Tong.
Yes, by the administration building. What's your take on it?
And really and truly, with the hype that this particular situation, I think, turned out was relatively poor.
I find it had some numbers. I
mean, 200 for a national issue, Jason, I wouldn't buy into that, really. I mean, you know, they took their voices to the street. No problem with that. But I thought they would have been able to generate more interest in the thing. And I would have thought, you know, maybe Mr. and Mrs. Samaru or the girl would have been there to endorse what they're doing. I don't know if they were there. I didn't see it. You know what I mean? But I think we need to work with the police rather than, you know, make appeals, Jason. If we have a son and he's doing something wrong, what we do? Appeal to him. Try to convince him to do the correct thing. Yes?
But I guess, Faizo, you see, the nation, we all looked at the video, and from again, not knowing what's the evidence that's presented now and what's new to the case, what we saw there was almost signed, sealed, and delivered. You saw officers approaching a car that clearly could not move, crash into a drain, and they open up on the car. Even to the end, when Gary said yesterday, and it's something that I'll give you a chance to respond to this, because you remember to the end, there was an officer who took out a handgun and also continued when it seemed to me like the threat was neutralized. So
all right.
Again, in keeping with police protocol and how you treat with a gun battle, I mean, it was really unprecedented, what we saw there on the video.
And you know, and I agree with what you're saying. What I would have seen, it would suggest the same thing. But, you know, every story has a beginning, yes? And so, you know, ironically, I bring up the Gary thing and Brother David Mohammed reminded me of the fellow who fall off the chair. So when we living in glass houses, we mustn't tell stones, you know, Jason.
It's true, Faizo. It's true. I didn't bring up that yesterday. It's true, you know. I should have bring up that yesterday.
Yeah, so we need to endorse and try and help the police, Jason. We need to work with them. If we want a better Trinidad and Tobago, we need to work with them. We need to call them out, yes, but call them out in a meaningful way where something can be done, not scandalize. Okay, my brother?
All right, Faizo. You be safe. That's Faizabad there, touching base. Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, everybody would come into the open forum with their particular perspective, with their viewpoint. I would listen. Sometimes a challenge. We have that little back and forth, but we really need to work with the TTPS, and the TTPS needs to also work with the public too, and recognize that that kind of action cannot be the new normal. You know, opening up, and it's just not a good look. No matter, you see, that's human nature. I'll say this before we head to Karen Rose. You'll do so much good and you'll do work within the community, and all that could be derailed when that kind of footage comes out. People will see that and remember that, and that's just human nature. We tend to hold on to the moment you would have dropped the ball, forgetting all the times you would have catch and take yourself or the nation to victory. It's human nature. All right, so with that being said, Karen Rose, our digipreneur, he joins us next. And today we are treating with education system versus new career paths. Interesting one. Karen Rose, our digipreneur. Have no fear. He's next.
There's a hole in the bucket.
Well, fix it, dear Johnny. Just fix it. And while you're doing that, remember the roof is leaking, the house needs painting, all those kitchen tiles need changing. So tell me, Johnny, what about the plumbing? The driveway needs paving. Plus, you promised to add a new room to the house. I find it's about time. Johnny, fix it.
There has never been a better time for a TBLA home improvement loan. Call us today at 623-1501 or visit us at tblamortgages.com.
Mom, Dad, this is Trevor.
Hi. He's no Kieran. Back up.
Swing? That's why he crossed the road.
It was funny when Kieran said it.
Ooh, who could that be?
We're like the parents who don't miss your ex.
I can't believe Kieran is in the neighborhood.
CG United. Good like that.
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
We strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair.
Impartial.
And to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail.
Rigorous verification of facts.
Use of credible sources and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
Have no fear, the digipreneur is here. Karen Rose, he joins us. I know we had a little break last week, but he's back with us in one piece, safe and sound. Before we get into the business, I always ask how things going on your side of the world, or the gas prices looking, any Ebola? What's happening with you there in Thailand, bro? What's going on?
Man, I vex today. I vex. I realized the effects of this conflict is starting to reach Thailand. When I went to go order some food today, and the Jamaican food went up by 20 baht in terms of price to kind of offset some of the incurring costs. So you're starting to see it, but here's the difference. Because the cost of living is so much lower, it's going to take a long time for it to actually hit my pockets or anybody that is earning a higher currency and living in a lower cost economy. But I did see it today and I was like, but what is this?
Wow, indeed. I mean, it's global, right? And indeed in Thailand, you're feeling it. I want to ask you, Karen, because this particular topic, very interesting, and I don't know if there's any comparison you can make to what you've seen and observed in your new home there, Thailand, as it pertains to the education system and new career paths, because we are still very much into that structure that myself, you, all of us here, we would have gone through the system here in Trinidad. You do your SCA, you go into your Form 1, you pick your subjects around Form 3, you do exams at Form 5, you get the option to go into Form 6 after, or you could do a particular course, pre-university course. You go to university, spend your 4 years, you graduate, you come out, hey, you're all shiny with your papers, you're ready to face the world. And we're finding ourselves in a timing here where career paths and the job market itself is changing because of technology. How do we strike that balance, Karen Rose?
Yeah, so let me start off with some context, right? And this is where the pain point, even for me, I've been starting to feel it, where I'm based in Thailand, but I travel a lot for work, and I get to go to China and other countries, and I get to immerse myself in the technology officially and unofficially. And what started to happen is in 2026, for the first time, all of the things that I am learning in digital business, marketing, e-commerce, when I start to consult back with enterprise level companies back Caribbean wide, the gap in terms of what we're doing here today and how the platforms and tools and just overall best in class strategies to build that business digitally and to expand your market, because we have not been upgrading our people, processes, or technology over the years, for the first time ever, the gap is so wide that almost nothing I talk about can the organizations actually operationalize, because they either, one, don't have the internal capacity, they don't have the internal skill sets. Now, I'm not saying this is nothing about intelligence or can't do the job. It's just that we have not been upgrading our people over the years. So a lot of the things that are going to be relevant for right now, we can't actually do. So what I'm starting to notice now is that got me thinking about the education system, because you go to school to learn the skills and companies hire those skill sets, and that is how a company grows. But if the education system isn't keeping up, we have a problem. So I'll say this before you jump back in. I decided to do some research the past couple of weeks where I looked at every single university teaching marketing across the Asia-Pacific region, China, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, all those countries. And then I analyzed every single marketing degree or master's being taught across the Caribbean. And Jason, there is a 12-year gap in terms of what type of knowledge you leave with and what you can do versus what you would leave with in the Caribbean. And that's just marketing. Now think about for every other program.
So from what you're saying here, we are playing catch up. There is lots to be done, and what you're saying that now is the time to do a readjustment, a realignment, as it were, of the education system. And this is what, tertiary alone, or also we're looking at secondary and primary?
I just did because it's just me doing the research, right? So I just looked at the limited scope of tertiary education, right? So what the schools are teaching across Asia Pacific versus what they're teaching in terms of marketing and digital business. But these skill sets that you come out with, you get to leave the University of Singapore or China. You get to leave with the latest skill sets that allow you to build a type of companies or build a new type of roles that are requested today versus what you actually leave with in terms of knowledge. When you leave these Caribbean universities with respects to marketing, that information is almost irrelevant, and the job titles are going out. And it's not that they're going extinct, but they've evolved so much that if we are not keeping up with the knowledge, we are not going to be able to execute a lot of the things that we are seeing around the world. We often complain about, why did it take so long to operationalize the incoming form for when you come in on Caribbean Airlines. A lot of these things are not happening because we aren't producing the types of skill sets needed to build the types of infrastructure that we are seeing in other parts of the world. So we have to start rethinking our entire philosophy to education, because the gap is massive now and it's only going to increase.
So I would imagine we're seeing where students are learning AI, like small students. Is it that time to have the bigger conversation to introduce AI? Do we even have the connectivity, the tools? Yes, the children getting laptops now, so I guess everyone in Form 1 will be equipped with a laptop, but is it proficient? Does it have the capability or capacity for these children to really start, let's say, to learn the basics? Let's talk AI and education, because clearly AI going anywhere. I mean, you talking AI a long time. It's here now. It's clearly here to stay. But do the generation coming up, other than playing with their phone, the children, they will play around and they will do their own research. But we're talking here in a formal setting. The educators, the tutors, do we have enough to really transfer and send this to the next generation?
Well, this is why I'm saying I'm raising the alarm that it's so bad now that we have to figure this thing out. Because in China last year, they introduced AI courses at the primary school level. Right?
Primary school in China.
At the primary school level in China, they have introduced AI courses. So they're introducing it from the primary school level. That way you can be brought up with it, because AI right now is in the capacity of a calculator. You need to know, at one point, using a calculator was cheating, right? If you brought a calculator to a test that said abacus only, you were cheating. So you have to now learn how to think and how to operate alongside AI. But again, think about how many years it took for China to craft that curriculum and put that in place to then introduce it at the earliest level of kindergarten. Think about how much has to go into that. Then think about our context. How much time, how much resources is going to have to go into reimagining our education system? Because, Jason, this is the problem. As long as our education is outdated, we're never going to be able to produce the types of skill sets that are relevant in the time period that we are in. And we are going to be uncompetitive moving forward. Uncompetitive in terms of the jobs that we're able to apply for, but also uncompetitive because it's a global village now. We are going to have to compete with companies for everything around the world. And the only way you're going to be able to compete is your human capital has to be equipped, it has to be resourced, and it has to be educated for the times that we are in. And just in my own capacity in marketing, seeing that 10 to 14-year gap in terms of education, then when you look at the actual marketing jobs that people are hiring for, there is a 10 to 15-year gap in terms of what marketing looks like in terms of jobs across Asia and what marketing looks like in the Caribbean.
What are some of the new careers coming out of this technological age? This is, we had the Industrial Revolution, and it's almost like a second coming of the technological revolution here now. What are some of the new careers in this year time?
Listen, I think one of the things that that AI has given us as a gift is a lot of things you might do for the very first time on your own capacity. Let me give you an example, right? Now, I've been in marketing and e-commerce for the last 10 years from when I started my business, right? A variety of tools have released updates over the last month. And with those updates and those variety of tools, I now have been able to create an entire new product for companies that I could have never have done a month ago. And that required me to upskill as well. And that is to be able to be a digital intelligence officer. Because one of the things that companies need is they need data. But Jason, if you have an organization that has not invested in upgrading your people, processes, or technology, who is going to be realistically that digital intelligence officer inside of your organization? But because I'm somebody who has been upskilling in that and I'm seeing a gap in terms of what companies are lacking, I can now upskill, create that product and service, and offer that as a support service to organizations. And again, that is something that I couldn't have done even a month or 2 months ago, or it would have taken a lot more people and a lot more resources. But this is what AI is allowing us to do. And that's just one thing. But another big one right now is we are understaffed in cybersecurity around the Caribbean region. Anybody who is lost about what they should be looking at, look at anything within cybersecurity, because you don't have to limit yourself to the local institutions for getting that knowledge. You can do courses remotely with institutions, whether it's Udemy or whether it's universities outside of the Caribbean, upskill, and you're going to be able to either work for an international company doing cybersecurity, or you're going to be hired because, again, we're understaffed for cybersecurity specialists.
Karen Rose, as always, a sincere thanks. Great conversation. Let's probably have a part 2 and a part 3 because there is lots to unpack. And you're treating with the times. We need to have these conversations. It might be uncomfortable for some, but it's a conversation that needs to take place.
Yeah, if we want better, it's going to have to start with the education. But if the education is constantly putting out a decade or 20-year-old content, then we're only going to produce outdated labor, which is going to make us uncompetitive. And we are seeing, and I believe a lot of the problems that we are seeing today are a direct impact of our education system right now.
Karen Rose, all the best, man. You be safe. We'll talk soon.
Take care. You too.
Karen Rose inside our Digipreneur segment. Up next, Dr. Vasant Basdio, Conversations on Cancer, and we're going to treat with World No Tobacco Day. It's the 31st of May. Let's hear from Dr. Basdio. He's up next.
Dry, irritated skin can make everyday life uncomfortable. For those with eczema, psoriasis, or sensitive, damaged skin, Manuka Derm is made with medical-grade Manuka honey, not regular honey, known for its soothing and healing properties. It helps calm, protect, and support skin recovery. Suitable for dry skin, skin tears, excoriations, and minor superficial wounds and burns. Manuka Derm, powered by Manuka honey. Available at pharmacies nationwide.
Extra, read all about it.
We are more than headlines, more than stories on a page.
The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper, your favorite national newspaper, is relaunching its community features section with one major focus in mind.
It's all about we Trinis.
We life and culture.
We heritage.
We health.
We food. We music.
We community.
We men.
We women.
We kids, yay!
Everything we love and adore. We are every part of Trinidad and Tobago. And now, We is a space where every reader sees themselves reflected. Introducing We, The Guardian's bold new celebration, a magazine dedicated to irresistible stories and features that celebrate the very best of Trini life. Our stories, our culture, our life.
Primary health physician Dr. Vasant Basdio joins me yet again for another impactful conversation, Conversations on Cancer. And we know there is that correlation between smoking and, well, obviously tobacco and cancer, particularly lung cancer, cancer of the throat. You would have given me all the details over the years. And honestly, you know, we always very transparent. Yeah, I too would have struggled with tobacco and nicotine for years, and honestly, having the conversations with you, with Dr. LeBlanc over the years, it actually encouraged me to put it down, you know. Yeah, I must say, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, it was tough, but I feel so much better now, and World Tobacco Day, I could really say with no fear of contradiction that it's one I could celebrate come Sunday.
Nice, lovely. Morning, Jason. Morning to the viewing public. And, you know, World No Tobacco Day, 31st of May on Sunday, is something that we, especially at Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society, we're very, very proactive in getting the message out there. Tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable death in the world. So if we were to just get those 1.3 billion tobacco current users in the world to quit smoking, we would be reducing 8 million deaths per year across the world. And 1.3 million people die each year from secondhand tobacco use. And the thing is, you know, so many women are concerned about breast cancer, pelvic cancer, but each year more women actually die from lung cancer than breast cancer. And the leading cause, 90% of deaths from lung cancer is actually directly from tobacco use. And people only associate tobacco use with cancer, Jason, but tobacco use affects every single organ and part of the body tobacco actually affects. So from cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, you know, these are diseases that we can prevent by simply preventing the use of tobacco amongst our adult populations. For example, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. These are diseases, asthma, that we can prevent. And so many people struggle in their later years with these medical health problems because of using tobacco in their younger, healthier years. And you know, Jason, from your personal story as well, by quitting tobacco before the age of 40, you are 90% more likely to live the full extent of your life. Tobacco users, people who smoke tobacco and use tobacco products, live on average 10 years less than their average expected life expectancy. So that's statistic, that's evidence, that's not just Dr. Bastill making this up. This comes directly from research around the world and right here in the Caribbean.
So I go back to, you know, all our uncles who, I call them Uncle Hardman.
Yeah.
It means that they could have lived longer because again, it baffles me, Dr. Bastill, that we see men, it have people I know smoking since I small.
Yeah.
I am a big man now, they're still smoking, and these men, I never hear a cough. Never see them sick. I see, but these men cut from a different cloth. Like how they able to still maintain that particular vice and still around, and other people younger than them falling down and dying.
Exactly, and the thing is, it's a good point to make to show you how strong that generation was. Right, my personal battle with lung cancer, especially, is from my grandfather. He died at the age of 75 from lung cancer, but up until the age of 75, Jason, this man was strong as an ox, you know, really, really was in the garden working as evergreen. And then, but he had a strong tobacco use, and tobacco together with alcohol just raises your risk of cancer. And within 6 months, he went from being the strongest guy I knew till we had a funeral to prepare for. So that's why when we see these persons smoking, you ask yourselves the question, what is their quality of life? What is their dentition? What is their cardiovascular status? What is a lot of them appear to be healthy, but they're actually taking away from the health of their whole overall general health and the ability to run and play with their grandchildren, the ability to run up a flight of stairs, travel, go to Tobago for a long weekend. It affects your health so negatively that we think that, oh, just living long means, well, that person didn't die, but they're smoking. But their quality of life is affected.
So let's take it to the first side of that scale. Your granddad, the friends of the family, I know they're more towards the end of life. For those who, pre-teens, who are experimenting, they're in a household where mommy, daddy smoke, they might pick up from the ashtray, take a little pull to see what feel it's around them, the environment. That's what they're around, and they fall into that particular zone. What's your advice in that regard, and what impact could happen on a young person who picks up that tobacco habit very early?
No, this is something that, as you know, this is my area of expertise, something I'm very passionate about. Right now, I'll be heading to Geneva soon, where we're working on targeting the young persons. And we say targeting because the nicotine industry and the tobacco industry are targeting our youths. If these were really devices designed for smoking cessation, why are they designed with all these fruit and mint and color flavors? They're now designed with all these modern designs, such as, looking like USB and flash drives. They are targeting the young generation. They are realizing people are getting smarter. The world population is being educated through these kind of programs like these. And they realize that, hey, we need to attack and target the young minds. So don't be a target, don't be fooled, don't follow that cloud, to the young population, to the parents of the young population. These are highly addictive devices, particularly nicotine delivery products like vapes, nicotine pouches, these ends, as we call them. Be wary of it. Protect your young population mind. Before the age of 25, the human brain is still developing. And persons who vape and use these addictive substances before the age of 21 are sometimes between 4 to 9 times more likely to go on to become addictive persons to actual cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, gambling, other addictive, very life-changing experiences. Please stay away in the young population from these nicotine and highly addictive tobacco products.
So I would imagine quitting, that's a personal decision, and it's one that, for many, there is that struggle. There are those who could stop cold turkey. There are those who need to wean off their particular addiction. Is there any medical, in terms of the medical advice and realm, is there anything somebody could take, a tablet, an injection that could help in that regard? Because, I mean, I went through headache, cramp, belly pain. I mean, it's not easy, You're accustomed to doing something for years and you just stop. You go through a little struggle. Your sleep patterns kind of get messed up too. There's a lot that takes place, you have to kind of really battle it through.
Jason, you're quite right, because quitting nicotine addiction is one of the most difficult things there is. People don't realize that nicotine is as addictive as heroin and even as close as addictive as other drugs like cocaine and these things. So quitting tobacco and smoking is no easy task. Some people have that mental power, but that's few persons to quit cold turkey. But we have I myself and a panel of experts from around the world, and in 2024, we launched the first ever tobacco cessation guideline for the world. So every 198 countries in the world now have access here. That simple, humble little Trinidad and Tobago has contributed towards. And it is a clear guideline. We have medications. We have nicotine pouches, nicotine gums, which is called nicotine replacement therapy. And we have medications such as bupropion, varenicline, cytosine, that are evidence-based, that is effective. And the question asks, why is it not readily available here in Trinidad and Tobago and, by extension, the Caribbean? These are effective smoking cessation medication, pharmacotherapy, and yet the public does not have access to these medications. And the thing is, unlike these smoking, vaping devices, these medications are just for that 3-month to 6-month period to help you get over the weight gain, to help you get over the interruption in your sleep. So you transition from tobacco in hand to tobacco out of hand. We're not replacing your addiction with another costly addiction, what these nicotine addictive substances are trying to promote.
Dr. Bazio, let's continue this conversation next week because there is so much more to unpack. I have to run out to another guest, but I want to thank you again. And yes, happy World No Tobacco Day on a Sunday. And, well, hopefully for those struggling every day. Yes? All the best.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. All the best, Trinidad and Tobago.
That's right. Up next, we get you ready for a massive gathering. A gathering that will take place at the Centerpoint Mall on Thursday, the 4th of June. Full details from Apostle Carlton Armstrong. He's next.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on CNC3 and start your wellness journey today.
Fires are unpredictable and can escalate rapidly.
Making the wrong decision can cost you all your possessions and even your life.
In the event of a fire, you can either fight or flight.
Small fires should be extinguished using an extinguisher by trained personnel only.
However, if a fire reaches the ceiling, do not attempt to fight the fire. You should evacuate immediately using the following steps.
Raise an alarm.
Call the fire service at 990.
Evacuate. Move briskly. Do not run, as this can create panic.
Never go in search of possessions.
Assemble at the muster point. Conduct a roll call to ensure everyone is accounted for.
Give the results of the roll call and other relevant information to the fire service personnel on arrival.
Remember, fire safety begins with you.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
It's such a joy to have Apostle Carlton Armstrong here with me, president and founder of the SACA movement. That's the Strategic Alliance for Kingdom Advancement. I want to say, Apostle Armstrong, great to have you. I look forward to the details this morning concerning your massive gathering at Centerpoint Mall, Thursday, the 4th of June. But before we even get there, let me, of course, say good morning. And if I could get some more details about SACA for those hearing about SACA probably for the first time.
Okay, let me say good morning to you and good morning to your viewers all over the island, as far as it is reached. SACA was birthed out of God sharing with me, as much as there's a political dimension of the society, there's a media of such, there's a strategic role for the church to play. And so he put it to me in this way, that the spiritual well-being of the nation is not the responsibility of the government. That's the responsibility of God's people. And that is how SACA was birthed. And so we started by gathering a couple of ministers together, and then we launched, and from there we've been going, and we are looking into the future of the church going forward right now.
Excellent. And obviously that's what this gathering is about come Thursday the 4th. Walk me through the, and I recognize strategic as part of the name. I would imagine being there in Center Point, that's also a very strategic and intentional decision to be there. Well, it gives access, easy access, because we had people coming from Rio Claro, Cedros last time. So we said, let's centralize it. Because the last meetings would have been in Port of Spain.
Yes, both of them would have been in Port of Spain, and so we wanted to make it easy, accessible to everybody. So Port of Spain now meet us halfway, and those in the far south meet us halfway. We are saying strategic because the biggest call for us is for unity. My research has taught me that there are 66.6% Christians in this country. Just that, and what impact are we having right now? We're not having much impact because we lack unity. If we unite, there is nothing we cannot accomplish.
That's right.
And so we are pushing for the church, God's people, to come together and make the difference, because the society is hurting right now. And we cannot just continue business as usual. The world has changed. Everything is changing. If we continue to just pretend church as usual, then we're wasting time. That's clear. You look at the nation and the nations of the earth, it's hurting. People are looking for answers right now. And some people choose to turn negative. Some people choose to try push positive. Under God, we're thanking God for the opportunity to call this meeting together. We want to kill the spirit of division and embrace the spirit of unity. That's the Master's teachings. And so we want to embrace that fully and be able to take our place in the society and make the difference that we are supposed to make.
So your target audience, I would imagine, all and sundry for this gathering?
Once you're serious about the well-being of the nation and the advancement of the church, the kingdom of God on the earth, once you're serious, come on board.
And how does one participate and be part of what's taking place on the 4th of June? It's a Thursday.
Yes, that's Corpus Christi.
Yes.
So we have, you can go on Facebook, Strategic Alliance for Kingdom Advancement. You could connect with us there. I know there are several people just throwing it out there, the flyers out there. And then you could also call, if you're not Facebook savvy and stuff, you could call the number 708-7318 or 258.
I'm seeing 7252?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
258-7252.
Yeah, so call and register. We want to cater some little light stuff on the side for refreshment and that kind of stuff, so that you can purchase, because it's a free event. And so you come on board and be a part. We throw the vision out, and you would be able to identify as God would direct you as to where you fit in. But surely change is needed.
The church, of course, very important voice, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but any community, any jurisdiction. I'm trying to figure out, after the meeting, and you've come up with probably a policy position, or at least a mandate moving forward, how does that now turn from word and thought into action? Do you all find a way to, because I know you said government can't put that responsibility on them alone. The people need to get involved, and the church. Do you all take any of these positions to the powers that be to try to see in real time some of the change or recommendations that comes out of such an important gathering? What's the next step? I'm just trying to figure out, after you all gather, what happens next?
Well, we have somebody who is liaising with the government of the day.
Excellent.
We also plan to form among ourselves our own governmental type structure for management, effective management.
Excellent.
Because it would involve monies. And so we want to be able to manage that well. I think right now we're in a moment that really demands that we manage this moment well. It would tell what type of future we're going into.
Yes.
And so that's the challenge of this. But we are quite equipped ready to embrace it and to make the difference, because it's serious responsibility.
It is.
Yeah.
Apostle Armstrong, other than yourself taking to the stage and the microphone to address the masses, who else will be on the platform?
We have a couple of speakers, some senior folks, some folks that are just, it is interesting that the vision that I carry is not just with me. I'm connecting now with folks who God has laid a similar care and concern on their hearts. And so there's a coming together. So these folks will come on board and share and say, listen, I could identify with this. This is what God is saying to us in this moment.
Yeah.
And so it's about, like I say, it's managing the moment.
Yeah.
Managing the moment.
You call that alignment and frequency, everybody on kind of the same page.
Yes, yes.
You plan to do any work, let's say, within the community? I know there are many church groups that will go into the heart of sometimes the most volatile communities, meet with some of the young men who have kind of gone down a particular road, and try to bring them across and bring them back to the light. Is that plan part of a future endeavor?
Definitely. You see, again, in order for us to have the kind of impact we're really supposed to have, that's why we're asking for you, let's unite.
Yes.
Let's unite.
Unity first.
Exactly. Because the scripture teaches our greatest witness to the world is our unity and our love for each other. If we get that done, because see, people are looking for a community to identify with, whether it's a gang or whatever, people are looking for a community. And if they could see us as a people of God really united, working together, making advancement, because we are thinking about the future of our children. We're thinking about the education. We're thinking about, because church is no longer just coming to church, singing 3 songs, going back home. As a leader, I see this as my responsibility for all leaders to look out for the welfare of the people that you lead. It's not just coming to church. How do we look out for? Are your children going to school? Do they have potential? We want to be able to come to the place where we could fund and educate our children for the well-being of the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Again, let's put the information up on screen. This is One for All.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's, as Apostle said, central, very strategic.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, that's a kind of, well, I mean, center point more. The name itself speaks for that center meeting point. As it relates to the timing, it's 1 p.m. What's the duration? From 1 p.m. till what time exactly?
We're looking at what 4 or 5-ish.
Okay, 4 or 5.
Because there's a session where we'd have open mics where you could go up to the microphone and make your contribution. We're open to contributions here.
There's going to be some elements of sing and praise inside here too? Or is it mostly speaking?
Not much of it, but because we see this as critical right now, and we need to get down to brass tacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to the faithful as we look to wrap things up this morning, Apostle?
Okay, I want to encourage all of us. Again, like I'm saying, it's what, you see, Jesus didn't call us and give us responsibility. He also gave us the strategy. John 13, 34, 35, he says, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you. And he says, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. So we want to come together and practice that word, put that word into practical reality, so that there's a witness in the earth that here is a community that is different, where we care for each other, where we look out for each other, and where we have an impact on the society as a whole. That's the direction we want to go. And God forbid, there is no excuse for us to continue to be divided. It's time for us to unite, and if we unite, there is absolutely nothing we cannot accomplish. Yeah.
Well said, well said. Unity is indeed strength.
Yes,
Apostle
definitely.
Carlton Armstrong touching base. Let's get the information again on screen so Apostle could just give us all the necessary information, the numbers to call. And is there any online place, as you would have mentioned, when you go onto the...
Facebook, you go to Facebook and you just punch in Saka. But there are several folks who have shared it, so it's all over. But in case you want to join Saka too, because it's a private chat, you could just request and somebody will just allow you in, and you register. If not, come down to Center Point Mall on the 4th. We start at 1 o'clock promptly, so be there for around 12:30 at least, because we get going from time it's 1 o'clock.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's some numbers to call, 708-7318.
Right.
And I'm seeing 258-7252.
That's correct.
Apostle, indeed a real treasure and pleasure to have you on the program this morning.
Blessings.
Blessings indeed. And with that, we look to wrap things up. A really beautiful way to pull the curtains down on a positive tip with that call for unity, that call for all of us to be on the same page, to move the needle in the right direction. I always talk about that every morning, you know, moving the needle in the right direction so that the generations to come, we can hand them the baton with at least some hope and that particular advantage. Yes? With that being said, God spare, I'm back for more tomorrow. Have a great one. Have a safe and productive day, Trinidad and Tobago. And thank you so much for tuning in to this, The Morning Brew.
You're watching CNC3. As an affiliate of CNN International, we now join their current programming.
I also would love to eat a lobster roll. It's a tough choice. It is.
In an economy like this, people may be choosing between a delicious lobster roll and filling their tank.
Yeah, and I would say go half a tank and come have a lobster roll.
Randy Kay, CNN, Boston.
All right, today, one of the country's most closely watched primary runoffs has just gotten underway in Texas. It's another test of the president's power over the Republican Party. Trump-backed Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton battling longtime incumbent Senator John Cornyn. Plus, Iran vows retaliation after new U.S. strikes on Iranian missile sites and mine-laying boats near the Strait of Hormuz. What will this mean for peace talks that are underway?